Hello, welcome in. I was working on getting the pages of this folded paper folio glued together at the beginning of the last live, and I don't think it got very far before it got set aside, so I'm picking that back up again. And basically what's going on here is a little trick where a full-size piece of paper has been folded. I'd like to fold mine into 4 pieces. I've seen them done where they're folded into 3. They're a little bit easier to manage if you do them in 3. But I like to work where I can just fold stuff in half. So that's what these guys have done. Have had happen. Both of these papers. Here's a tiny little one so you can see what's going on. This is the larger one. So once it's folded, make your creases nice and sharp. Try to get it fairly even. That'll make the next step in the process a little bit more easy to handle. Unfold your sheet, and then what you're going to do is split that paper, but not all the way to the end. Leave one section, and imagine you're going to want to alternate your splits so that you basically make a strip of paper. Then it's going to be folded up into the folio, and the backs of the pages are going to be glued together. So the first section, and here's just one of the tricks. If you pay attention to this, your first page is not the first square, it's the second square. And what we're going to end up with is a little booklet that's made out of a piece of paper. And the pages are glued together. You can see here at the edges that's, well, you've got 2 pages actually. And you can see, if you look closely, it's a front and back. So this piece right here is the front. You don't want to start folding on page 1. You want to have an inside front cover so that everything hangs together. And it's a pretty sturdy little booklet when it's put together. So let me show you how it folds up. Basically, these pages fold. Cricket Cinema, hello. Hello. Then over, there's your second page. This folds together. It's a little tricky. If you get a piece of paper and try it, it comes together pretty easily. Then this one is glued, and then you're left with this flap. That flap will go back around, and it'll glue to that inside front cover like this. And then you'll have a little book with all of those pages. So that's what we're kind of aiming for. Good morning. Good to see you too. You're very welcome. That was fun, wasn't it? I thought, as I saw those rack up, and after I saw Miriam come in, and she said she threw it up on her page, I knew we'd meet that 50. And I just was so tickled to think about you waking up and opening up your YouTube and finding that. So it was, I love to help. It didn't take much. And mostly, you know what it took, Cricket Cinema? It took you just saying, hey, I could use a little bit of help. So, back to my crazy big map. Now, this map was very large, bigger than 2 feet by 3 feet. And so it has a lot of pages, and I've been working my way through it. I've got a few pages glued. And so I think we've got I want to say a 5-inch square, something in that neighborhood. And I wanted to try to make one of these with more pages, but it turns out each page of glue is just a little bit trickier, but that's what I'm working on tonight. So I'm just going to put down something underneath to protect my work surface. And mostly I'm just keeping my hands busy, and it's been a crazy few days around YouTube, and so I was just looking for something to keep myself busy and let my brain kind of stop wiggling around like a bowl of jello. This feels like we're dealing with chaos, and I thought, well, I'll do whatever. You guys can come in and chat. We'll have some company and fellowship, and yes, it was Scientology up north. So someone may have. I wear glasses. I think a lot of us of that age wear some glasses, and she had seen my post, and she had ducked over and came back and said she thought that we had 50 for you. And then we went and looked, and it wasn't quite. And then she said, "Oh, I'll do a little something." And the next thing I know, I looked over, and she, I don't know if she put a post on her community page or if she just was speaking to her followers during a live stream, or what exactly she did. Some sort of Miriam magic. So I consider those to be extra lucky subscriptions because she is a wonderful person. And yeah. Well, that page didn't go too badly. I think maybe the other day I just kind of got myself in one of those corners, you know, where you're kind of rushing and things aren't coming together exactly right, and you get a little frustrated. I find the trick with these, they are a little bit like wrestling an octopus. You just try to concentrate on that space. Just the part you're working on. That's always my message. It doesn't matter what I've got going here. I'm always just saying, pay attention to where the brush touches the paper, where the pencil touches the paper, glue stick. So, Cricket Cinema, now, I loved your cartoons that you put up in your community pages. And for anybody who is curious about what I'm talking about, if you go to my community page after the stream is over, not now, thank you, I had a link to Cricket Cinema's page, and there were a couple of just pretty awesome illustrations for a couple of cartoons. So I hope to see more of that, because that was pretty fantastic. And do you have any ideas about, you said you were interested in going live, so I wonder if you have anything I want you to let the cat out of the bag. Tell us what you might have planned. But I know I probably just have to wait, right? Good morning, Maya. Welcome in. I was headed to bed earlier, and then I was watching some live streams, and then I got myself, okay, here's the wrestling the octopus part. Ay, ay, ay. So I found with this particular brand of glue stick, you better put it where you want it. So I'm just trying to line up that fold with the previous fold. And then I'm just going to use a bone folder, just sort of cheat it over. And boy, did that not work out how I wanted it. See, I've successfully made a big hairy wrinkle. It's all right. It's just paper. And that means just gonna mash it into submission with the bone folder. Right? It's just a simple thing. Doesn't have to be perfect. Miriam kindly helped promote Cricket Cinema's subscriber drive, and now we have managed to get everybody together to support Cricket Cinema, and he has achieved his goal and can now live stream. Ooh. Wait a minute. Oh, Elron. Oh my goodness. Yes. Cricket Cinema says he loves Scientology Up North's channel. So Maya, if you are, yeah, will you please drop Cricket Cinema's channel? Drop your own. And if you wouldn't mind, if it's convenient or when you have some free fingers, let's go ahead and get Scientology Up North and Elron Hub Cult. Oh yes, and you're not shallow about that Cricket Cinema at all. I'm not going to read that out because I know he's a modest man, but I agree. I agree. You've already apologized to the thing twice for using AI. Which thing did you have to apologize to? The AI? Because if it's being that dominating, I mean, do you have to pay extra for that? Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, not sorry. So, probably going to start with some things that happened shortly after the book Dianetics came about in 51, and the challenge will be technology. Oh, just put that AI to work for you. I love that. Isn't it a good giddy feeling when you feel like, yeah, you just get a little magic? I love that. Yes. Okay, wonderful, Maya. Thank you. Okay. Alrighty. That's just Auntie Janelle at it again. I can tell. I've got my spine just all cattywampus, but I think when I'm trying to put this many pages, because the little ones have like 12 pages, so yeah. We're just gonna, we're not aiming for perfection. I think I have a feeling at some point we're all gonna be laughing about what I'm trying to make here with paper and glue. And that's okay. It's all content, right? Everything's content. That's what somebody said. Yes, I was was kind of in my groove this week and going to bed at a reasonable hour, and then kind of had to grapple with a contractor with whom I'd made a contract, and then his wife came over and said, "Where's the deposit?" And I said, "Yeah, between me and the contractor. I didn't know you were the project manager, ma'am." On a 3.5 day job, he was going to carry the materials, and I was going to pay him in cash at the completion of the job. And she had a whole different idea about it. And I said, "Well, perhaps from now on, any contract negotiation should happen with the three of us in the same place at the same time." So she went over and just got him and frog marched him back over there, and we had to negotiate a second sort of a contract, to which I wasn't real thrilled about that, I'll tell you. But it's not a huge job, so we'll see what kind of work he does. I gave him a bit of money to go buy materials, and then and he had said he was going to start work on Wednesday, but then he didn't show up. So I went over to see if, checked in with them to see if they had perhaps met next week, and was told, oh no, he was going to start on Thursday. Well, Wednesday doesn't sound like Thursday. Well, hello, Liza. You know what? I'm glad to see you. And I did not run very many live streams at all, so you were not, you did not miss anything, although I missed you, and it's nice to see you. How do you think your finals went? Yeah, Maya's gonna, okay, all right. Maya's going to get to her computer. It's hard to do links in the vertical format from the phone. So we will get those links. And Cricket Cinema says, it feels a lot like you're talking to a real human, so you started treating it that way, and it's funny. Yeah, I got sassy with the AI. You know, we've got one on YouTube for some streams. And I was asking it questions, and I asked a couple of pointed questions. It was a stream. Now, let's just say I had some philosophical differences from the point of view that the content creator was putting out there. And so when I was asking the AI questions about it, the AI got very prickly. It doesn't like it if you don't ask nice questions. So I thought I might get to the bottom of some of this dirty stuff going on, but that AI was no help at all. It got kind of sulky, actually. So I thought it was supposed to be more even-tempered, but it was just not having it. So I guess if you're going to ask the YouTube AI bitchy questions, you have to couch them in some kind of extra super sweet way of putting it. I don't know. Anyway, so I grappled with that, and he still hasn't started work. And then I noticed he also, because he lives very nearby, that he also didn't go get the supplies for the job. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Am I going to get suckered out of my money again? It's been really tough finding reliable contractors and handymen. Makes me miss apartment living for sure. Alrighty, so Liza passed. Yay. You found a baby quail. Uh, yeah, I got nothing. Here in the States, I think some people probably do. Boy, well, it's just paper. It's going to be all self-critical, but it's just paper. Um, yeah, here in the States, if you found a quail, you would, that would be a wild game bird. And you would probably have to turn it over to a bird rehabilitation place. Thanks, Cricket. I knew there was a question I could ask there. Thanks, Cricket Cinema. How is the quail doing? There we go. My poor brain. So then after this, I thought, well, I'll just come inside and have dinner and watch a little YouTube, catch up. You know, I knew there was going to be some happy streamers because of a positive outcome in a court case. Did y'all watch any of that? Just me? Yeah, I hope not suckered. I hope that they do. They said they were going to start on Sunday morning, so, and it should be a, fairly quick kind of a job. I think I just made a pretty good size error here. Up or down, up or down. Yep, I think I decided I was going to. So there's a little bit of an edge to this map, and what I'm thinking is I can make pockets on these, and I wanted to leave this section on because it gets... the top of this map represents an area where I like to recreate, so I didn't want to just tear it off and lose that. I wanted to somehow keep it incorporated in the book. The map is actually an area of Oregon. It includes a lot of the wilderness area and a lot of the state and BLM and county parks where I like to hike. So, and then of course, like your favorite bits, you don't want to tear those off and throw those away. So I was trying to kind of keep those in the book. So you see what I mean when I said it was a little bit like wrestling an octopus? That's okay. Just, if you're trying one of these, stick with it, because we are one gluey page away from being able to wrap this around, and then I think it's kind of magical. So I hope it will be. I hope it'll be fun for you guys to see. Yeah, so I guess if they don't show up and start work on Sunday, then I'll kind of know what time it is, won't I? And yeah, I'm just going to try to think positively, and it's a fairly simple project that they can't really mess anything up if they don't do the job quite right. So All right, just checking the chat. Thank you, Maya. Alrighty, so this back page, it folds around and it covers up all these, all the folds, and then you glue it to the inside front page. And it always comes up short. That's just, unless you do some fancy cutting. So it always comes up about 1/4 inch short. And that's simply because the spine has dimension to it. So it just takes up a little bit more paper. And since that one is shorter than the other, I'm going to mostly just put the glue on this side that wraps around from the back. And then I'm going to have to figure out what next to do, because that went faster than I thought it would. And what I had in mind was a pebble drawing, so we do have one of those coming up. But for some reason, this Tombow mono glue stick, I like it quite a lot. They work pretty well. But they do want you to put down a couple layers. And it gets, when you move the glue stick across once, it just lays it down. When you bring it back across, it seems to activate it and makes it much stickier. So it does help to read the instructions on some of these art supplies, and really helps get a better result. Alright, and I know those pages look a little, this bit, it came this way from the map shop. That's why it was a good buy. Alrighty, so now we've got this little booklet. Boy, it's, yeah, I've got all of these lovely pages, and it just went from an unwieldy octopus into a pretty neat, nifty little bit of handmade book pages, and they are going to get tucked into this cover that I made from the cover and the backing from my watercolor pad. When I went to take the watercolor paper out, the first and last sheets were just glued into this binding, and I was starting to cut it up to put it in recycling, and I realized that the tape on it was just sturdy as could be. And so I thought, well, I'll make a junk journal out of it. And if you're not familiar with junk journals, they're just made out of reclaimed materials. It could be anything, a box that some food came in that just had a interesting bit of color, or an illustration that you like, or like some interesting paper. So I'm going to glue this little insert right in here, and I'm going to trim down this cover so that it fits a little bit better. And as you see, it fits in there pretty nicely. I think so anyway. And then I'll collage something over the uninteresting bits of this cover, and from there I can put in ephemera or photographs, or maybe even some of my small paintings can be mounted in here. Yeah. Maybe some of these guys. And then these back pages where I left this little flap, I will attach those down, and then I'll be able to tuck bits and pieces into those pockets, I think is what I'll end up doing with it. So, just a little something made out of things that this was going to go in the recycling. That map was on a clearance table in a store, and I guess we'll see in coming days just what gets tucked into there. Okay. I'm gonna check the chat here. Cricket Cinema says, I think kindness to animals is a good gauge of humanity. I agree. I agree. Oh, Cricket Cinema. For years, I thought that if someone isn't kind to animals or hates the beetles, I'm done with them. All right. Anybody hate the Beatles? I think I've met people who found some songs slightly annoying a time or two, but hate the Beatles? It's a little harsh. It's good to have standards, though, right? Yeah, I'm pondering that. I don't think I've ever dated or paired up with someone who was mean to animals. It's yeah, I think the first time they said, ew, I don't like cats, I would have said, bye. I kind of gauge people by how they behave towards people like store clerks or wait staff or just other people in general. And if I'm with someone who's just kind of nasty or snappy or rude, I think, boy, we're one argument away from you treating me that way. Oh, ouch. Right? Maya says, if you don't like animals, you don't like me. Oh. Well, my parents do. Oh, like the Beatles. Now, for anybody who's watching this, I try to read the chat a bit, but if you're watching this and you're not getting the live chat replay, you're missing 75% of the fun, at least. All right. I don't always know where to start with these. I know sometimes I get set into them and it goes really smoothly, and I've had some questions about just how do I move through them in the way that I do. And it's not always easy, especially if my brain is scattered. That's the point of this mindfulness exercise, is it really does help focus a brain that's jumping around from topic to topic. And I've also been asked, how do I draw the pebbles? Well, they didn't really start out as pebbles. It started out as just tracing the shapes that I was seeing in whatever is going on with the paint, wherever it hits the paper. So, if you were to have a piece of paper like this in front of you, the shapes you trace might not turn out to be pebbles. That's just the way mine do. And it really doesn't matter. The benefit to your brain is finding those edges and tracing those shapes. Now, yours might turn out to be pebbles, and they might turn out to be something else. It's all okay. Just slowing down, and I don't know if it's something that's activated in the visual cortex or exactly what the trick is. It's probably has something to do with using a sensory system instead of the logic part of the brain. Because when you're thinking about things, fussing about the contractor and the quail and the classic rock music that young people don't appreciate, and that's just a different part of the brain. And if we can get into our senses, we can connect with the world around us. We can get into present time, and it's beneficial. Heart rate slows, respirations become more deep, and your breathing becomes more effective. Your blood pressure drops. For me, I start to feel more calm, less frantic. So, if you don't take time to regulate your body's nervous system, you will run at a real high speed, a high rate with high blood pressure, and it's really not good for your body. Cricket Cinema, thank you so much. And I share that Cricket Cinema says he loves channels that interact a lot with their chat, or the chat interacts with one another a lot too. And that's that is mostly what I'm trying to create space for. And these silly little pebble drawings are just an excuse to create a chat space for people to come and hang out, talk about art. I love how kind everybody is to one another. For the most part, the groups that assemble here have been really terrific. I'm just pleased as can be. As you may not know this, Cricket Cinema, but because I've been in the chats, I've been in the community for quite a while, but I only started live streaming about 2 months ago. So I had been a moderator here and there, and it just hadn't occurred to me that I might be able to create any kind of content on YouTube. I guess, and now that like I say that out loud, I'm just like, well, how silly does that sound? It just, I guess it just hadn't occurred to me. And that's goofy because I've had an Instagram account for years that I have created content for, and YouTube started doing reels a while back, and I was not into that at all. I uploaded very few videos. Most of this content at my Instagram account was still photography. So the video format is a bit different for me, but um, I'm very pleasantly surprised at the growth that my channel's had, the views, and um, just every time I get over into YouTube Studio and look at the analytics, I learn a little bit more about how to fine-tune things, and yeah, I'm surprised and I'm tickled that people seem to like this. Oh, yay. So, you mentioned the Cricket Cinema mentioned working on a bamboo screen the other night. Um, and I'm just like, I've got three different, at least, versions of what that might look like. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Are they pieces of bamboo that are slid into like grooves on a wooden frame, or what exactly? How exactly do you configure a bamboo screen? Yeah. And Maya says she got her missing Derwent Inktense pencil. That one was right in the middle of your color chart, too. It wasn't just like one hiding on the corner. You definitely had to get that one. She had to order a pencil because, well, if you had all of them but one, wouldn't you have to get the last pencil? And the next time you vacuum your go to tidy up and move the sofa cushions, you know what you're going to find under there. You're going to find your missing pencil. And that is why I have three pairs of bead crimping pliers. I will finish a jewelry project, and then you need the special pliers that flatten these little crimp beads to hold the thing together at the ends, and you can do a sloppy job with some other tools, but when you know that there's the one tool that does a really great job. Uh, but in all fairness to myself, I bought two, and then I inherited some tools from my mom when she walked on. So I only have a couple of those Inktense pencils, and I they're pretty costly here. So I only know one store that sells them, and I haven't been back in there, but I know the next time I go into that store, I am gonna end up with a whole bag full of those things because they are really vibrant, and here I am talking about them, and that's not very much fun, is it? So what we're talking about is a colored pencil made by Derwent called Inktense, and they look like a regular watercolor pencil. Oh, let's make a little swatch, shall we? Far be it from me to concentrate on one thing at a time. So this color is deep rose. It looks pretty. They're a bit hard. You have to use quite a bit of pressure. They're not especially blendable. So just as a straight colored pencil, I wasn't sure about it, but the magic comes when you add a little bit of water. And the pencil is called Inktense. They're made in England. And when you get them wet, can you see what it does? The color just... it just explodes. It is absolutely gorgeous. Let me get a hold of it. So it's kind of a... oof, that was a fail. It's kind of a dark rose. Just, you can use them like a pencil. And then you add a little water and it's just makes this beautiful, rich, intense color. So, and it's more intense than a standard colored pencil. You can find one that's, or a standard watercolor pencil. So this is just a Staedtler Carrot watercolor pencil. I think it lays down a little more smoothly than the Inktense. And then its color is going to stay pretty close to what it is as it lays down. But it also, I love working with watercolor pencils because they come in so many colors, they're easy to use, you can get them into tiny little areas. But that Inktense color is just a little bit more rich, and it flows more smoothly. And when you activate it, there's a lot more pigment that gets laid down than gets laid down with a standard watercolor pencil. So that was our foray into art supplies. Hey, Big Chief. Hello, hello. Welcome in. Yeah. Now, what I had heard about Inktense is... because I think the watercolor pencils are a configuration of standard watercolor pigments, which vary. It's a little bit different than ink, and I really don't know that much about, well, frankly, don't tell. I don't know that much. I mean, there's so much to know. I know a tiny little tip of the iceberg. Yeah, but this is ink, and when it dries down, I thought it was supposed to, once you wet it and it dried down, that it was supposed to stay put. I do find it's a little bit rewettable and the pigment will move around. Not as much as watercolor pencil, but a bit. So just another beautiful colored tool to add into the mixed media mashup. So, and yet Maya's pointing out that they are more costly, and you can tell they're different. The lead in them is heavier and it's almost cold, so it might be like an ink stick. And then a standard watercolor pencil is much lighter in weight. Also, these seem to cost about twice as much, so. Not sure if it's twice as much fun, but um, I don't know. I find them fun. So we'll have to keep an eye on. Yeah, Maya. I want to. I started to say you should, and then I went, well, if she should, I should. I shouldn't be putting shoulds on other people, but I would love to see you do an illustration or a painting using just the Inktense pencils. So maybe next time we do a um, I was going to say panel, and then I remembered we had a different. What did we decide to call those, Maya? The side by side? Okay. So if there's still some ink, meaning the scribbly part, if that hasn't been activated with water and then allowed to dry, this part that has not yet been activated will activate with water, is what Maya's saying. So, and I felt like when I worked with this but that magenta in all kinds of media tends to be a pretty big wild color that will go places you didn't expect. And I felt like it did re-wet a little bit, and yeah. Okay. Well, if you guys want to see just exactly what Cricket Cinema is working on, he has put a picture of the bamboo on his community tab. So, yeah, I will be checking that out. So, Big Chief, what are you up to? What's new? Are you stunned and amazed by all of the goings on in the protest community, or are you keeping your cool? Did you have a good week? Can I ask 6 more questions? Answer none or all, or any. So, if you were here for the last stream, I apologize again for that abrupt ending. I did not keep up with it. My phone did tell me when it was at 20% battery, and I kind of went, reached for the power cord, couldn't quite get it to reach, and then just went la la la, went on my merry way. And unfortunately, for those who were watching, we had an abrupt end because my phone just went right down to 0 and then went bloop. And remember the part where I said I just started doing this 2 months ago? So, oh, oh, Maya. Well, Croptober. Big Chief, I'll let you explain that. I think I think I devoted quite a bit of the other stream to that, but we'll just leave it for the chat comments so that the automatic transcriber doesn't have to transcribe me. Are you doing Inktober? I'm still trying to decide if I want to do Inktober, and since it's now the 5th, I better get on it if I'm going to. I haven't seen Raoul, so um, he was rallying around trying to get people to do that. I looked at one list of prompts for Inktober, I think. If I understand it correctly, it's a list of 31 prompts. Every day you get some sort of an idea, and then you are to work on a bit of the idea is that you work on your art every day. And for people who struggle to find inspiration every day, an exercise like Inktober provides you with prompts for subjects that you can create in some sort of an ink, using ink as the media. So it could be drawing like pen and ink, or it could be using the ink in a wash, or whatever way the artist uses ink. And me, with my natural bent for being a contrarian, I might want to draw a butterfly until you told me to draw a butterfly today, and then the last thing I want to draw today is probably going to be a butterfly. So, Dan K, well, hello. Okay, good. I like Maya's rugged individualist approach to to um, to doing that. She's working with the illustrations and she's using ink because it's October. I like that. That's less restrictive. Yeah. Yeah, and come back to the paper. Come back to the paper. Boy. One thing about this, sometimes you do tasks and you're like struggle with them. One thing about when notice that and I am struggling with this one because you got a head full of squirrels. What I take from that is that it's a good thing that I'm sitting down to try to do it, because if it's easy, I'm doing pretty good. I've got things in balance. When I'm struggling with them, it means my ADD is just probably out of hand. And the thing I need to do is some sort of mindfulness exercise, because that's what I've learned helps me manage the ADD. So, in some ways, like, the more I'm struggling, the more I know, oh, I'm doing exactly what I need to be doing. And then I feel less negativ- negativity or negative emotions around the fact that I'm struggling. Most of the time, we're doing something and we struggle. It just can be hard to feel good about struggling, right? Whereas here, if I'm struggling, I know, yep, that's a good thing I'm here. It's a little bit paradoxical that way, I guess. Yes, yeah, paradoxical sort of a situation. So, Dan, hello, welcome in. Good to see you. How was your week? Dan, I think you and crickets might be in the same neck of the woods there. At least the same side of the continent. Big Chief, I'm a little envious. I'm just in my memory have that smell in my head which I thoroughly, completely enjoyed. Yeah, it didn't even mind the sticky fingers and well, sticky everything, right? Yeah, the other night I was coming home and I thought, oh, I thought I would swing past one of my favorite dispensaries. And it's been a while because I was absolutely, my cardiac surgeon and my cardiologist were both like, no smoking. No, absolutely zero. And I said, oh, it's okay, I can bake edibles. And my cardiologist was like, there's too many strains that'll increase your heart rate. So you get to take a break from that for at least 6 months. And I had just passed the 6 month mark and kind of got into the old stash and everything seemed stale, and I thought, well, I'll go down and get a little bit of something new. And they had closed up shop. Like, it's been a long time since you've been when they close up shop. So I think we've finally reached the point out in Oregon where we've got some market contraction going on, which was judging by the 3 shops per block in portions of town, probably, we wouldn't want that many liquor stores in town, so probably a natural part of this process, but it's kind of tough. And this one's definitely going to benefit from a little bit more shadows and maybe another color being dropped in. Oh, excuse me. Well, it has been wild in the studio, and I have had more than a couple of live streams where we have just plowed through making drawings, so I think this is the first time since I've started that I don't have blanks ready to go. So I'm gonna do a little painting. How's that? Wow. So has anybody caught Nance Drew's firesides this week? That's kind of what I was like thinking for a minute. How did I get so I don't even have any squares of paper cut. How did I get there? And then I remembered because I was spending time with Nance Drew. She was doing some firesides late this week, and those were really nice. I think we'll just put a little paint on these. When in doubt, put a little paint on paper. You know, I think this one actually, Dan K, since you're here. Now, I know this is actually lemon yellow. It's not cadmium yellow, but this is pretty close to the rose madder, so yeah. Shall we put a turquoise on that and call it a pick 3 light? Yeah, well, it's not a live stream without a technical difficulty. She is intentionally speaking really low because I think she's intending those for, to encourage people to drift off to sleep. But I've been working as a mod in there, and I'll tell you, it's not as calm as it would. It's a bit duck-like, really calm from the top, but underneath just paddling like crazy. So if we can pick a color. What is the fun stuff? This fun stuff? These are the color swatches for some of the gansai tambi. And this is one of the squares that we made at part 1 of pick 3, part 2, part 1. So, I think this viridian might be kind of cool. Pencil or paintbrush holder? This bad boy? Oh yeah. Oh, I'm not even joking when I say it looks like an art supply store in here. It's just some of the goodies. Just the few that I have. Yeah. Yeah, it's an acrylic display, I think. I think I bought it when the art store was just putting in new displays. They did eventually. I hate to even say it out loud. Sadly, they did close, and so I did buy some other fixture bits like that when they did. Yeah, it's nice because it's also I can't think of the word for it. The front row is low, the next row is medium, and the back row is up high. So it puts them at an angle, and you can see everything you have just looking at a glance. And you can actually order those from fixture supply businesses that sell things for store fixtures. Good night, Liza. It was good to see you, and good job on getting through your finals and passing your classes. Congratulations on that. We'll look forward to seeing you next time. You take care. All right, Dan K. Did you give me a color? Did I miss it? Yeah. I do kind of. So I think the one you had picked from the chart was this turquoise green deep. That one will work. Should we go with that one? See if I can make a wash with it and not turn the whole thing dark turquoise. Okay. This really is a gorgeous color. But I say that about all the colors. I like a world with all the colors. I'm so glad you guys are here. I enjoy the familiar faces, and I know we got a few out there and just being quiet in the background, and I appreciate you too. Forest green. As soon as it hit the paper, I went, wait a minute. It's a beautiful color too, but that's because I was not careful about putting things away. You can't blame me. They're both kind of dark, aren't they? They look a lot alike. Try that again. So Maya's working on a commission. She got commissioned to do some illustrations for a children's book. And she is soldiering through that. How's it coming? Yeah. Are you 25% of the way through, or just getting started in, or halfway through? I was thinking about the books that I had as a child. And you know when you're a little child and you look at the same book again and again and again. And I think about Where the Wild Things Are. That was one of the ones I loved when I was a child. And I think about those illustrations and the wild rumpus and the way the canopy bed turns into a forest, and how those wonderful illustrations just, all of these years later, they're still in my head. And just the cat in the Hat and the Dr. Seuss books. And I loved the one Green Eggs and Ham. I hated eggs when I was a kid. The one character says, I will not eat them in the rain. I will not eat them on a train. I will not eat them in a box. I will not eat them with a fox. I do not like green eggs and ham. I will not eat them, Sam I am. And all those places that they went, all of those drawings were so, like, they just, they're some of the first things we see in life, and what a privilege it is to. I don't want to say this and like make you feel pressured, but it's just wonderful. Having seen your paintings, I think it's wonderful that some kid somewhere, some young human is going to get to see your illustrations, and that those will get a place in their little brain. All that beauty. Love it. 60% done. Wow. Yeah. I ran across another one that I had as a kid called Never Tease a Weasel. I'll have to dig that out, and we'll maybe take a look at it, because that is I'm not sure that was really written for kids. Do not tease a weasel. Teasing isn't nice. Do not tease a weasel, not even once or twice. The weasel will not like it, and teasing isn't nice. Oh, the 60s. Love it. Love it. Richard Scarry. Yep. And the Berenstain Bears. Oh, let's see what this color does over this. Wow. Hmm. Yeah, right? Not that it's bad advice, but maybe just a little age inappropriate. Like, could explain some of my my neurotic teenage years. Oh, I hadn't seen it. I could remember it, but I looked for it, and I found it in a bookstore a few years ago, and just went, okay, that's going home with me. And then when I read it, and it was one that came from some mail order company that my, I don't know, relative or maybe my parents had subscribed to, and I can remember getting packages with, there would be two books in a package, um, that would arrive through the mail, and just being just thrilled and excited to get new kid books. And but it wasn't like a big publishing house, so this looks like a big squashed spider at the moment. I'm gonna spray some water on that sucker, and we're gonna make that paint run and turn it into a beautiful puddle. Oh, you know I haven't been working hard enough when the paper towel is still all white. Yeah, that's a good blue. Sometimes what I love to do with these is just get that paint all activated and then take another card. Oh, yeah. I know, Maya. Usually I have little wadded up bits of. They just have to try to find one little white corner left to dab something. I mean, this one's still, even this one's still pretty clean. So, and then I confess, still, if they come out and there's beautiful sections, I'll take those paper towels and I'll take the beautiful sections out and I throw them in the collage, the pile of papers for collage. I get a lot of mileage out of those paper towels. I totally obliterated those lovely fall colors on there, but boy, this turquoisey blue is so gorgeous. Wait. Okay. Uh, this turquoisey blue slash forest green combination. um, yeah, I totally meant to do that. uh That was absolutely intentional. I mean, of course, why would I do it any other way? Oh, yeah, they're kind of like ferrets, also. But when all of the illustrations are of a little girl and you're telling her not to tease something, that it just maybe my mind's just warped. Thank you, Dan. Well, I do love that forest green in combination with this deep turquoise blue. It's a nice combination. And you guys know the rule. Or the credo. I don't know. The motto. It's just paper. It's just paper. Okay. Well, if a good day is uh, if a mess in this studio is any indication, then we're making progress. Um, I'm gonna cheat this one a little bit. Um, this is Windsor blue, and I really like it too. It's kind of that Chevy blue. You know which one I'm talking about, Dan? You can probably still order it out of the catalog. That one, right? It's a good one. Hey, at least I'm. Remember, remember the AMC colors? I mean, how could we forget them, right? Do you remember that purple they painted the javelin? Wasn't it? Wasn't it kind of like this? It wasn't quite Plymouth Plum crazy, but it was, um, yeah. The classic car colors for 500, Alex. I wonder. I wonder if it's like that in other countries, but like when we talk about poppy red, we know that's like the red of a 1960s Mustang. Oh my. How are we doing here on time? Oh, we're coming up on we're coming up on an hour and a half. Right. Uh, Roadrunner green. I don't think I even have any paint that color. That's all. That's downright fluorescent. I think this is. It looks a bit like a blobby mess right now, but I think it's going to dry down and be quite interesting to work with. That's what I find with these. Sometimes the scariest ones end up being the most beautiful. Um, Dan is asking if they make fluorescent watercolors. Yes, they are available. They colors are very fugitive, meaning if they're exposed to UV light for very long, they they lose. They fade. I was trying to think of a fancy way to say that, but they fade, and they lose their neon. So like neon pink will just kind of after about 5 years in the sun, it'll just look like kind of a medium bubblegum pink. So I I might have a few around, but not many. And I've found that they don't even really have to be exposed to too much. Like closed in a sketchbook, I've come back and I've gone, oh well, here's a sketchbook from 5 years ago, and you open it up, and I know I used these really bright bright colors, and they will have faded. It can just be sometimes just a function of time. Yeah. And uh, the paints come with ratings on them. If I can find a tube that's not ancient here. Um, and picked up an ancient tube. Oh, the one's remote. I'll have it, won't it? Okay, so like the Winsor and Newton burnt umber will have a permanence rating of double A, which now we use light fast ratings of 1, 2, and 3. 1 is very permanent, 3 is fairly fugitive. So excellent, moderate, fugitive. Purples do tend to also be pretty fugitive. And um, there'll still be, something visible on the paper, but it might not be bright purple after a few years. It might just be uh, usually kind of a brown. So a lot of the colors from, let's say, the 1920s, like even dyes and things like that are fugitive. We look at fabrics, vintage fabrics, and it looks like, people in the 1870s were just all running around in these indigo blue and then drab browns. And in fact, those colors were very bright at the time. They just haven't survived. Yeah. We used to use a lot of a product called One Shot in the sign shop, and those were kind of like poster paint, and they came in very vibrant colors, fluorescents that would last pretty well. They were that One Shot paint is made for show cards, which are, what is it, 18 by 24 sheets that would go, um, like if you're in a movie theater and you see the posters that are in the frames, the glass frames that line the lobbies, those are show cards. Yeah, I tend to think of inks like printer's ink that I would have used in screen printing or block prints. Like, and Maya can chime in on this too, that those inks tend to be more light fast. But the body of the of ink is, it's going to include more like lints, like oils and stuff, whereas the watercolors that I'm working with here are mostly just pigment plus um, glycerin and gum arabic, and can't quite figure out what the body is in the gansai tambi. These um, traditionally it would have been an animal-based glue and some honey, but these are modern vegan. Did you know paint is now vegan? different world we're in. I was looking at the website and it was like, this paint is certified vegan. And I just thought, I'm not planning to eat it. But um, then I had to, remind myself that the vegan lifestyle includes not using any animal products in any part of your life, not just don't put animals in your mouth. So, oh my. Um, somebody there was a question, was I up late or up early? Um, I think you can tell by the goofy things I'm saying I might be up a little on the late side. Yeah. Now, in general, colors that are things like sienna and umber that come from a particular type of rock or dirt that's a particular color. If you've ever been in Tuscany and you've looked out like outside the city of Siena, there are these hillsides that are just this amazing golden yellow color. That's Siena. It's the earth around Siena, Italy. But there are some things that once they get exposed, they get mined and then they're exposed to oxygen, that they do change. But in general, and I know we've kind of covered this before, in general, things that are fugitive like that just don't make it into pigments, because one of the goals, one of the objectives, I think, when we're making paints is for them to be light fast over at least a minimum of 20 years. So if something is going to drastically change with a little bit of time and oxidation, it's probably not going to get made into paint, at least not by a major manufacturer. Now, there are all kinds of people who are just, you know, um, literally going out, walking around, finding some interesting dirt, bringing it home, heating it up until it's dried, and then grinding it up with a mortar and pestle and mixing it in with gum arabic and making their own paints. Those kinds of products are very susceptible to having color shift. But they're also, it's a fun thing to do. And if that's your jam, making your own paints, it was the, yeah, it was it was the putting animals in your mouth part that got me. It's, and I don't know why it strikes me as funny, but I just, what if you're I can't even say it. For some reason, what came to mind is just hanging on to hanging on to to a woodchuck. And I don't think if you had a hold of a woodchuck, you'd be very happy if you. Oh, I'm just telling myself my own jokes. Oh my god. I am not wired right. dear. Poor woodchuck. Oh, don't put that in your mouth. Oh my goodness. Oh. Well, I'd rather it go funny than just go on a rant. And you have to know there's like 3 vegans who are just furious with me right now. That's not funny. Oh my. Right? Hmm. Uh, Hi, Sophia. Oh, it's good to see you. Yeah, 3.2. And maybe a flexitarian. There's probably just a pissed off flexitarian out there too. It has a face. Oh my gosh. Oh. Oh, this was that one we did with the Terra Verde that gets like kind of an interesting glaze, and the granulation on that's kind of cool. I don't know. Let me think a second. I think I want to just try a yellow over the top of that because it's really kind of a cool effect, and I don't want to obliterate it. So, oh my god. Let's pull out that cadmium yellow. That was a color that Dan K suggested here a bit ago. Is my phone plugged in? No. Is the quality going wonky? Is that why you asked, Maya? We'll see if I can plug it in without knocking the spotlight off. Come here, you. Alrighty. You sure it wasn't just me? I'm usually the source of the wonkiness. Alrighty, I got it plugged in, so we don't want the stream to drop in the middle of the woodchuck story, do we? Oh my goodness. Oh. Dan, I would read that comment about the woodchucks, but I'm not sure I can get through it without just see. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, Maya. I mentioned that in a live stream the other day, and I think I broke somebody. they had not. Yeah, it's become. There's there's a product that's mined in China that is used to make quinacridone rose and quinacridone, the quinacridone colors. And the quinacridone yellows are just, they're fantastic. They're luminous and rich, and the washes are beautiful, and they've got a sort of a glow to them that is, it's really beautiful. And you know me, if I can show you, I will. So let me grab some, and I'll just do a little swatch, and you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. And the quinacridone colors have not been around that long. I want to say sometime maybe in the 90s, maybe earlier, but they became expensive enough that an art student could afford them. And sadly, the mining, it's either become so scarce or it's become so costly that it's not going to be available to make these pigments anymore. The pigment's not going to be available to make paints out of. So this Mars yellow, it uses a quinacridone color in it. And they make the most amazing, beautiful washes, these colors. So if you're an artist and you love to work with quinacridone golds and quinacridone roses, you might think about picking up an extra tube of paint or two and put it in your art supply hoard, because the companies are going to stop making paint out of it. And I think it's pretty it's a pretty cool color. And what we have a lot of is we have cadmium colors. And you see, they don't make that nice wash. They stay pretty solid all the way through. And the quinacridone has this sort of a luminous quality. So not all yellows are created equally. Cadmium colors they're very bright, and they hold their hue even when they're mixed with other colors. And sometimes that's a property you want. Speaking of car colors, I think my Volkswagen Rabbit was about that color. Yeah. Yeah. Um, I have a question here asking if I'm, or pointing out that I'm not mixing the paints too much today. Sometimes for these second layers, I just kind of go straight pigment onto the paper. Um, we did some interesting things with the quinacridone the other day. Um, it it has some really just a variety of effects when it's mixed that really surprised me. So this blue is pale aquamarine. And oh, that's dirty. Yeah, that I need another brush here. Dan said something about the old Honda motorcycles were about that color. Yeah, they did a beautiful metal flake gold that was. My grandfather had a gold wing. Have you seen that kid that's got the gold wing and he's riding it off road? And the thing's just a beast. Well, it doesn't really look thrilling there, but makes an interesting neutral. I just didn't want to get up and grab the other set of paints, but I'm going to because it did something really cool and I'm going to show you. Stay. Ah, there it is. Found it, found it, found it. Yeah, so we swatched that quinacridone with billiard green and the Mars yellow. and just got this gorgeous kind of an olive drab color that just, it's got quite a lot of luminosity to it, that just the olive green out of the pan was way more drab. And if I haven't buried it and I don't knock stuff off, like I reconfigured my workspace today, and so my apologies, I'm kind of grappling here for stuff. Well, here's one of them. Yeah, these greens were mixed with that gold. And I just thought they had a lot of subtlety and they were quite beautiful. So, yeah. Yeah, there's still a lot of motorcycle. Um, you're not far off, Dan. It's a it's an 8-foot bookcase stacked with all kinds of, right to my right, with kinds of all kinds of art supplies, and yeah, it's creative chaos. Okay, I'm just taking a look at the chat here. Yeah, so some beautiful greens, some beautiful luminous colors. Alrighty, we are coming up on 2 hours here, so I think I'm gonna call it here. I'm up to my elbows in wet paint and crafty books, and that's a good thing. That's a very good thing. So we got the insert for the journal. We got those pages all glued together. We got that done. That's pretty satisfying. I know it's a little bit hard to see here. I'll put some pictures on the community page so that makes a little bit more sense. We got through a pebble drawing. That's always good times. And I've got the rest of the things off to the side drying. They are in their intermediate stage. They'll get another layer, and they'll show up again as the backgrounds for more pebble drawings. But I think we're going to wrap it up here. So thank you everyone for coming in. Thanks for being so kind to one another in the chat and for laughing with me and spending time with me. I hope that you will have some time over your weekend to make a little bit of art, or go just appreciate some art. Go look at some art, and look out for maybe a local artists co-op or a gallery that you haven't been to, and just spend some time around it. Let it inspire you. And I will see you guys again next time. Thanks for coming in. Goodbye, everybody. And Maya, thank you so much. Thanks for modding and for dropping those links. You know what? Should I run it a couple more minutes? And are you away from your computer? Let's see if I can. Let's see if I can actually drop a link. Nope, it doesn't let me go to your channel to do that, Cricket Cinema, or I would drop another link for Cricket Cinema. But I will throw that. I will throw the links in a comment or in the description, so that probably a comment. Okay. Oh, so Maya, can you do that again? And also drop a link to your channel, please. We always have time for that. Yeah. So while we're waiting for that link, so Dan K, there's a young man who did I already say this? I'll find his channel link and throw that in the description too. But he calls his Goldwing, I think he calls it the pig, and they ride that thing up sand, and I think they've taken it down to Sand Lake in southern Utah, and just it's a those are just a heck of a bike. He rolled it back down and took all the knocked the fairing off of it, and they resuscitated it, rehabilitated it, and brought it back out, and he's riding around on it, and I think he was probably a motocross rider, but they're just out goofing around on that thing, and it's good fun to watch. Alrighty, there's your links. We'll see you next time, guys. Thanks again. Bye.